The Dirty Blonde by Sven James Robinson. Exterior San Francisco, 870 Market Street, dusk. Sid Cummings, white, 30, dressed in a gray suit jacket and slacks, a short red snowflake print silk tie, a gray fedora hat, and two-tone gray leather wing-tipped shoes, stops in front of the building and then withdraws to a doorway, placing a matchstick in his mouth. Frank Austin, tall, thin, African-American, 30, exits the building. Sid throws the matchstick to the ground.
Hey, buddy. You got a match?
I don't smoke.
Nobody smokes here.
Frank starts to walk away.
You're Franklin Austin.
Frank, I'm sorry. Have we met before?
My name is Cummings. Sid Cummings.
Frank smiles, lifts his hands, and starts to walk away.
I knew your grandfather.
My grandfather died in 1945, so I hardly think...
I knew your father, too. He was just a little boy.
I don't know what game you're playing, but I've had a rough day, so why don't
I know the feeling.
So if you want money for drugs or whatever, just take this $5 and fuck off, okay? I'm not in the mood for any song and dance.
I don't need any dough.
Good. Then I'll keep my $5 and you can fuck off.
Frank walks away. Sid looks down at his wingtip shoes.
Does your family still own that cabin up on Zephyr Cove on Lake Tahoe with the red painted porch and the hidden spring-activated shelf behind the third drawer on the second cabinet where they hide the 12 bottles of scotch so the kids won't drink it?
Frank turns around as Sid pulls a matchstick from his coat.
Who are you?
Sid slides the match down the wall, igniting it.
Still gotta kick the radiator 3 times in sweet 1090 before he blows any heat. 1, 2,
Sid lights his cigarette.
3.
No, they fixed that 5 years ago when they remodeled. What do you want?
Frank, I'm in kind of a tight... You're the only person I know here. Can we get a drink? I'm buying.
All right.
Is Lefty O'Doul's still around?
Interior, Lefty O'Doul's. Frank sits at a table, watching Sid drain a large glass of whiskey in one gulp.
Now we're cooking with gas. First time I felt right all day.
A red-headed waitress passes by. Sid holds up his index, middle, and ring fingers.
Sweetheart, I'll take another. About this deep. Franklin?
My name is Frank.
Sorry. You look so much like your granddad, I get mixed up.
The red-headed waitress puts another large glass of whiskey on the table. Sid flips her a $50 bill and slugs the drink in one gulp.
Thanks, doll. Frank, I've been going over this all day in my head, but it only figures as screwy. I thought maybe if I said it out loud, told it to someone, could get it straight.
Told me what?
Last night it was June 17th, 1945. Last night, I left Suite 1090 at the 870 Market Street to meet your grandfather below Pier 70 in Dogpatchit, Illinois, and 22nd to catch Dr. Winekiller. When I burst in the joint, the Nippon Kid blindsided me.
The Nippon Kid?
I don't know his name. And I wake up face down in an alley off Mission, and when I look up, I'm in San Francisco, only it's not San Francisco. Everything's goofy. My office is now my partner's grandson's office. My money is worthless, except it's worth 10 times what it was.
The red-headed waitress drops off another double whiskey.
On the house. I wish every tourist tipped like you. Doll.
Sid pushes his hat back, downs the whiskey, and rubs the knot on his head.
It doesn't figure.
I think you need help.
Brother, ain't that the truth.
Professional help. You should at least go to the hospital.
This knot ain't that bad. I've had plenty worse.
Undoubtedly you have. As I can see by your drinking, that's probably it. You were at some theme costume party or something yesterday or the day before, and you've been on some bender and bumped your head. You're just confused, that's all. Go to the hospital, tell them what you told me, and get checked out.
You think I'm making this up?
I didn't say that. I think maybe you're just confused.
Yeah, well, what about me knowing about Zephyr Cove, huh?
Our family's name is on the mailbox by the side of the road. Sometimes we rent it out during the Super Bowl, things like that. Maybe you saw it once. Maybe you stayed
What
there.
about the radiator?
It's an old office building. I've only rented that space for 8 years. You could have...
And my wallet, full of money from the 30s and 40s. What about them?
Show me a bill.
I changed them all this afternoon.
Frank rolls his eyes, sighs, and then rises. Frank pulls out his cell phone. Sid stands too.
I'm not trying to be an asshole. You asked me to listen, and I listened. Everything you've told me can be explained. I think you've had some sort of head trauma, and you should seek medical attention. Look, I'll call you in a couple days, see if you're all right. Give me your cell.
You want my cells?
Frank stares at Sid with an expressionless face.
Your phone number.
Won't do any good.
Why not?
Because if you dial Montgomery 456, it's just going to ring at Suite 1090.
Interior darkened hotel room, night. Sid sits smoking in a chair. His face and a bottle of whiskey on the side table are illuminated by the large red neon sign outside his window.
My grandfather died in 1945. Franklin's dead. 1945. That means Franklin, Lena, Candace, my mother. I can't deal with this, Franklin. The junior partner.
Sid rubs a hand across his forehead and sighs.
Maybe the kid was right. This whole damn thing's above my pay grade. Maybe I'm just dreaming this. Maybe I never had an office at 870 Market. Maybe if I drove up to Tahoe and went to the cabin with the little red porch, I'd see in the driveway a black 1936 DeSoto S1 Airstream Deluxe Touring Sedan, license number 6Y175189.
Sid takes a long drink of whiskey from a plastic cup.
Like hell I would.
Exterior Market Street, day. Sid stands in a doorway watching the street parade.
Well, Franklin used to ask, what do you start when you've got nothing to work on? The rules. Stupid. Never trust your client. That's rule number one. Now, Frank Austin wasn't exactly my client, but it was the only connection between where I was and where I was supposed to be. My crush was still at 3 large and change, but I figured I'd better get moving before I was down to 2s and fews.
Sid watches as Frank exits 870 Market.
This one's for you, Franklin.
Sid pulls his sunglasses from his suit jacket.
I put on my cheetahs and got to work.
Sid follows Frank from across the street and then runs across traffic when Frank boards at the head of a cable car. Exterior California Street cable car, late afternoon. Sid watches Frank from the back of the cable car as it climbs the hill. The cable car lurches to a stop and rings its bell just above Chinatown. Frank jumps off. Sid waits half a block and then jumps off too. Exterior California Street, late afternoon. Sid watches Frank greet and kiss Vanna Burkhart, Swiss, blonde, buxom, late 20s, in front of an office building. They hail taxis, enter, and leave separately. Sid comes to a stop and looks up at the office building. Interior office building. Angela Brewster, frumpy, early 20s, wearing a name tag bearing her first name, sits behind the receptionist desk, talking on the telephone. Sid enters and sits in a leather chair, picking up and opening a Time magazine with former President Obama on the cover as he scans the room. Sid's eyes glance down at the magazine as he looks from left to right, and his expression freezes. His head then turns to the magazine and his expression changes to confusion as he begins reading. He flips the magazine closed to look at the front cover and then looks slightly above the magazine. Sid looks up at the receptionist's desk as Angela hangs up, and one of her bosses enters and throws a pile of papers sharply at her across her desk.
Jesus Christ, Brewster. These things need to be in order. You want to file shit willy-nilly? You can go straight back to accountant temps. Got it?
The boss exits, and Angela picks up and straightens the papers while fighting off tears. Sid is suddenly in front of the desk, pulling a white envelope from his suit coat.
You know how to tell that the boys upstairs are really sharp?
Angela looks up at Sid.
By who they put out front. Who's the first person a potential client sees? Is it some target to the bricks tomato? No, if the boys have got any sense, they won't do that. No one remembers the company. They'll only remember the broad with the painted-on face and cans. But you put a dame who knows what she's doing, someone everyone can identify with, a gal who represents the company by being quiet, efficient, a behind-the-scenes person who gets things done and is invaluable without ever hearing a word of recognition. That is the mark of a smart company.
Can I help you, mister?
Cummings. I was supposed to meet my brother Franklin Austin here. I was going to give him this before...
Your brother?
Well, I'm an old friend of the family.
He's already left with Ms. Burkhart.
Miss Burkhart. Already left.
Only Mr. Austin. Ms. Burkhart's still here, in the city.
Well, maybe I can give this to her, and she can give it to him. Should I leave it here with you?
She won't be back this evening.
Know where I can find her?
Well, it's Wednesday. She usually goes to the Silver Cloud. She loves to sing.
Well, where is that again?
1994 Lombard?
Sid smiles deeply, wraps his knuckles on the desk, and winks.
Thanks, Angel.
Angela watches as Sid turns and exits through the front door.
I sometimes go there.